Hello, welcome to SquishiVision. I'm going to give my immediate thoughts on Bad Batch Aftermath. I've literally just watched it, so this is giving my immediate kind of sprawl of ideas and thoughts without really there being any chance for me to kind of do any in-depth analysis. So, straight off the bat, it was great. We'll just start with that. I did look quite a few videos of my expectations of the show, and they were somewhat varied. So my biggest kind of concern about the show was I wasn't going to care because I didn't really care much for these characters. I didn't really, of all the large kind of variety of clones and also the large variety of supporting and guest casts in the Clone Wars, the Bad Batch didn't rate high for me in terms of interesting characters. They were very, very kind of, for me, cliched. And kind of stereotypes, and I don't know. I never found them interesting compared to all the other characters, and I'll address in a second because that's something that's been improved on. But yeah, so Aftermath was released for me yesterday on the 4th of May, May the 4th. And it's a 75-minute long episode, which I believe is an extended episode, and they're not all going to be 75 minutes long, but it's kind of short pilot film, and it felt very cinematic, which is great. I guess the best way to go through this initially is just to go through the plot. And I was impressed in through. So we started off essentially seeing Order 66 once again. So we got, well, it was nice. It was a little bit Easter egg. So actually we started off with the Clone Wars title, which was interesting because this is Dave Filoni's being very insistent. This isn't a Clone Wars season 8, I think is what it would be in disguise, or not a spin-off, it's a separate show. But clearly it's a spin-off of some sorts, and they kind of really admit that when they put the title which says this that I was the Clone Wars, and then it burns away to reveal the Bad Batch, and then we get the same kind of title font that we got for the final 3 episodes of the Clone Wars with the Siege of Mandalore, the kind of part 1, part 2, part 3 thing. Which the season Mandalore, the 4-parter end to the Clone Wars, felt like a film. It was very cinematic. So we kind of start off in that front. So that's like Easter egg. We got, I think, shot for shot remakes of 3 shots from the beginning of Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan and Anakin rescued Palpatine from the Invisible Hand, and the shots of them doing so. We got 3 shots which are recreated in this kind of animated style, which I think was a very nice kind of Easter egg. And then we got kind of a narration by Tom Kane, like the Clone Wars, which was a very kind of cinematic signature style of the Clone Wars. So that's kind of, I don't know if that's going to continue in the series, because the Clone Wars was an anthology series. Most of the, apart from the arcs, the individual stories were like anthologies. So it wasn't like one long narrative and you can dip in and out. So my nose is feeling really weird. Whereas I expect this to be much more of a continued narrative. So we start and we immediately see, trying to remember her name now. Oh gosh, what is her name? Depa Bilaba, under siege on Callum, and she's saying, "Oh, we're first school." And Depa Bilaba is Caleb Doom's master, and then we see Caleb Doom once again voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr. It was interesting that he got the same actor to do the voice rather than casting someone younger, because obviously he's younger here. But I think they did do something with his voice, or he obviously as an actor did something with his voice to make himself sound younger. So it was nice to see that. It's basically I think that was a very nice way to start the series because it ties in also to Rebels. Because we got a lot of kind of Caleb Doom's arc was regarding his mistrust of clones and his trauma from how the Clone Wars ended, and his trauma from that war. So seeing him, how it ended for him, was I think actually quite a good choice for them to make. in terms of expanding that universe and expanding that perspective. But it's also quite, I guess, dramatically ironic and tragically ironic for us as a cast, because we know exactly what's about to happen here, and we get the kind of nice teasers towards it. We didn't need to do that because we all know what's going to happen, but a nice kind of anticipation of, oh, there's a lot of chat happening because Obi-Wan's engaged Grievous and Utapau. Utapau. I cannot pronounce that name of that. Utapau. It means that Order 66 is imminent. And then we get a moment where, Blabba sends Dune away with the Bad Batch, and it's like, it's the start of any other, adventure, but then immediately Order 66 comes through, Blabba gets shot down, Dune flees in terror, and then this is where it gets interesting. So, we see how the Bad Batch react, and most of them don't react at all. They and it's explained later on that the mutations didn't mutations affected their inhibitor chip, so they were like, well, what's going on? We don't know what Order 66 means, except for Crosshair, who does act compliant and start shooting at Dune. And there's this conflict which is started very quickly, but and I think that's what surprised me. It's bold, because and nowhere in the series was this marketed what was going to happen. We didn't know this was going to be a driving conflict. We give very little in terms of plot about the show. So it's bold for a cartoon, and for a Star Wars cartoon to like cause conflict between our protagonists. And protagonist conflict is rare, and it's rare to do on a serious level of fate, like as in like you're gonna actually kill someone over it. It's rare to do, and it's rare to do in the first episode, because these are like meant to be like our 5 main characters, and then one of the main characters now become our antagonist, which is I that's like truly bold, and I was not expecting that, and that was amazing. But I'm going ahead of myself here. So obviously that conflict starts very, very early on. And then we get that. It's so sinister. The rest of the episode, we see from the perspective of the Bad Batch, who most of them aren't in line with the whole messages that they're getting. Sure, it's 2:30 o'clock in the morning here, and I'm exhausted. And I have to go have Sari very soon, so we'll make this quick. So they're kind of trying to accumulate to this new kind of order of things, and most of the clones seem fine with it, happy with it. But they're very uneasy, and as you can feel very uneasy, and it's fantastic. And then obviously Tarkin arrives, and Tarkin's like, well, I'm going to evaluate the clones, because it's not clear how much we need the clones over conscripted armies, and we as the audience kind of know where this is going to end up. The current, I think, canon, it was definitely the case in Legends, and the canon kind of assumption is that something between here and when we next see the Empire, they've moved to majority conscripted military, that kind of progresses into the First Order as well. Certainly Rebels, we get the idea what clones are obsolete. So yeah, they have to deal with that. I mean, they get put through a battle drill. And all this while, Crosshair is like doubting Hunter. He's being like, I know you let the Padawan live, you're disobeying orders, how dare you? And Hunter's just like, chill, whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. And they meet this kid called Omega. And I guess I'll talk to her at the end in retrospect to what her entire arc is. But she is also there. So Tarkin gives them the job of going to actually, Batrock's like, one thing that does bug me in these shows, and I guess it's kind of suspension of disbelief here that I need to kind of uphold, is the idea that you can get you can just throw yourself into the middle of a firefight and not get shot. And that's what they do. Like it happens in Clone Wars, where like your country was like just drop into the middle of like a whole bunch of droids and just shoot them without getting shot back, as if like without any cover. It's the idea of shooting people without any cover and not being hit. Like, what's something being shot? So it's funny that happens, but then later on, they can't even avoid being hit by dinner trays. I thought that was funny. Like, so you can avoid a blaster shot, and presumably they're traveling at that like very fast speeds, but not a dinner tray. I mean, if that dinner tray was like a sharp metal disc, you'd be screwed. Plot armor, I guess. So yeah, we're given the so yeah, they do the demonstration for Tarkin, which was fun and interesting, and it's great to see how the character the characters being more dimensional, which is what's interesting here, and I'll talk about more at the end. Later on rather. So they're given the job to go and take out separatist insurgents. And that's the exact wording used. So they go to the place they're told to go, they find a group of people, they're not droids, they're not separatists, they're Republic fighters who have deserted because they don't want to join the Empire. Crosshair wants to assassinate them, Hunter's like, well, this is weird. Everyone else is with Hunter. I'm not quite sure why he didn't point out, we're not disobeying orders, we don't kill these guys because we weren't ordered to kill these guys. It's not our fault the orders were meant to mislead us. If we follow exact wording of the order, we shouldn't kill these guys. That seems to be an easy out, an argument Hunter could have made, but he didn't make it, so whatever. And Tarkin was Spino. This is a test of loyalty, and obviously they didn't do that. So they travel back to Camino, and they're arrested for treason. Corsair's taken away for his inhibitor chip to be given more power, so he becomes more compliant while the others escape. And then there's this confrontation where they have this nice standoff, a nice little Mexican standoff, and then they shoot each other, and then the Bad Batch escape, basically because one of the Caminans helps them escape, along with Omega, who's revealed is actually one of them, is also a genetically malformed clone. So it's meant to be it's a clone of Jango Fett, but if Jango Fett was a girl, I guess. And they escape, Crosshair, and that's interesting. So in the first episode, we've now split the 5 main characters we thought were meant to lead in this into 4 actually protagonists and 1 antagonist, which I think was very interesting. Okay, so let's talk about the characters. So my major issue is characters as their stereotypes, and no more would I hate more than what Wrecker represents. So Wrecker is actually quite problematic, at least in his initial appearances, because there's this common trope in fiction, and especially children's shows, of the heavy, strong brute being mentally I'll say mentally disabled, because basically it's disability coding. It's Wrecker is coded as someone with an intellectual disability, so he acts like a child. He acts emotionally immature. He acts unintelligent. He's confused by complicated concepts. And it's a thing we see a lot. So like it's like the Lenin and in of Mice and Men. We see it in many children's shows. The big, often it's an antagonistic character. It's not always. It's rarely in this case it's protagonist. It's like a big, cuddly, lovable, massive brute who's actually very simple and childlike. He needs to be led by his kind of more emotionally and intellectually mature compatriots. It's problematic. It's infantilization of intellectual disabilities. So it's not a great trope. It's something we should really not stop using. So what I like is it kind of added more nuance, and we're kind of chipping away at that one-sided character arc. It's still there, and they've got a long way to go. But there are moments where Wrecker actually shows understanding and nuance and intelligence befitting of who he actually is as a person. It's still not as much as the other people, but that's fine. We're allowed to have varying levels of intellect, obviously. But he wasn't, being he was still being coded as someone who was intellectually disabled, but there was still more nuance to it, and that's something I like to see, and I want to improve upon. Similar other characters, and I think because we've had this internal conflict, it's such a fantastic idea between the actual Bad Batch, because before it was like them against the regulars, well, here it's now them amongst themselves. It lets them be more nuanced. and we can see how the different characters react differently to the situation, and we can see, you know, the fact that Hunter and Tech are very similar characters. I'm not sure how much I realized that was the case. So I'm not quite sure exactly what their kind of different specialities are meant to be. But they do have slight differences, and obviously, Echo has the benefit of being an ex-reg, while Tech was always a Bad Batch member. And yeah, of course, they kind of be a lot more antagonistic, and it's a subtle movements of like the kind of faces and expressions is fantastic. The animation looks great. It's like it's peak level Clone Wars quality animation, so it looks great. And yeah, I'm intrigued. This was where I was expecting the series to go. I was expecting their kind of departure from the I was expecting and somewhat hoping their departure from the Empire would be, if it was to happen at all, slow. And I guess that would be the development of the series. We'd see how they would detach, if at all, from the Empire, or how they would otherwise acclimate to the Empire. I felt if they detached from the Empire soon enough, then we'd immediately get this kind of same story we've been told 100 times before about the rogue rebellious unit against the Empire, which obviously is kind of expecting Star Wars, because the Empire is meant to be evil. There's not meant to be any kind of real you know, there's not going to be really any kind of redeemable feature about being in the Empire. Obviously, a lot of characters we see who are good guys are people who have defected, and that's fine. But so I guess the longer they were with the Empire, then the more they couldn't really be the protagonist of the story, and it would be perhaps a bit too bold for a cartoon to tell a story from the antagonist perspective and not be a comedy. But like, I mean, even though it did what I hoped it wouldn't do and split them off from the Empire fairly early on, I'm actually very intrigued because they still they haven't split off completely, because they still have one of their own ranks in the Empire, which is Crosshair. So I get to have the best of both worlds, and that's fantastic. I hope we still get to see some more of a gradual change about how the Grand Army of the Republic turns into the Empire Army. That'd be great. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up there because I got to start making food. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you're as excited as I am about the show. I don't actually know what the release schedule is. I'm assuming it's every week on Tuesday, right? I mean, that makes sense. Although every other Disney Plus show is released, well, all the Marvel Disney Plus shows are released on Friday. I can't remember what day Mandalorian released on. Maybe that was a Friday, maybe it wasn't. But yeah, I'll keep a track. I'll keep doing these. And I'll see you whenever this next releases. And hopefully it's not going to be a 75-minute long episode. Not that I don't like long episodes. Well, I suppose once Ramadan's finished, I'll have the time to watch it, and it's not going to be midnight, but we'll see how it goes. I'm meant to be writing a script, and I still have an idea, and I'm like 4 weeks behind, so whatever. That's my life problem. So, yep. Cheers, guys, and I will see you next time. Scroll over.